Welcome to Travel Tales, a mini-series within Distress to Joyful Bailey's Way podcast. I'm your host, Bailey Raber, here to travel the world with you. In each episode, you'll hear firsthand how my travel experiences have gone, both within the United States and abroad. Together, we'll discover new cultures, learn about a variety of new places for you to go out and explore, bring light to how I navigate my bipolar disorder while traveling, and, most importantly, we'll have fun. You'll leave each episode stocked full of exciting new ideas, interesting information, and feeling like it's time to hop on a plane. So come on, friends, let's start exploring. Hello, friends. Okay, so we are going to travel by train to Vadodara, Gujarat, India today. So today is finally the day that I will travel to Monish's childhood home and spend time in the place where he grew up. But first, we've got to take a 5-hour train ride from Mumbai, Maharashtra, India to Vadodara, Gujarat, India. So I consider this my very first train ride ever, as the 45-ish minute train ride from New Jersey into New York wasn't a true train experience in my opinion. So, side note, you guys, we just left off with a Mumbai adventure, which Mumbai is a city, Maharashtra is the state, obviously India is the country. So, Baroda is the city, Gujarat is the state, and then, again, India, the country. So, fun fact about India, which I don't know if I've mentioned this before or not. Maybe I have, I don't know. But India, most of their large cities have two names. They have their original name, which like Mumbai is the original name. And then they have the British name that was given to these cities by the quote Britishers when the United States, when the United Kingdom came over and, took over India for a couple almost 200 years. Not a full 200, almost 200 years. So like Mumbai, the British name is Bombay. For Baroda is actually the British name. The Indian name, it's spelled V as in Victor, A, D as in dog, O, D as in dog, A, R as in rabbit, A. It's so much easier for me to pronounce Baroda, and most people that I know who are from there, they just call it Baroda anyways. Vadodara, I probably said that wrong and people are laughing at me. That is totally okay. I'm terrible with it. Okay, back to the story. So we all woke up fairly early as we were exhausted from exploring Mumbai the day before, causing us to go to sleep pretty early. Once all four of us being myself, Monish, Tanvi, and her husband Jigar, were awake, we decided to head out to grab brunch together. So Tanvi suggested that we go to Jam Jar Diner, a well-known diner in Mumbai. And upon arriving, I immediately opened the menu and I found Eggs Benedict, one of my favorite pre-vegetarian lifestyle breakfast dishes, which was offered vegetarian style. Thank you, India. So I was beyond excited to make this discovery. They used cream spinach in place of ham, which was absolutely delicious. And fun fact, I later found out that a lot of places are now offering a very similar menu item, and they call it Eggs Florentine. So I have Eggs Florentine a lot when we go places because they tend to have that along with Eggs Benedict, depending on what type of breakfast restaurant it is. So the remainder of the morning was spent packing up our suitcases along with saying goodbye to Auntie, Tanvi's maid, as I wouldn't be returning to Mumbai this time around. So once we'd completed packing and said our temporary goodbyes to Tanvi and Jigar, who will meet us in Baroda later this week, we grabbed an Uber and made our way towards the train station. Upon arriving at Mumbai Bandra Terminus Station, which is the name of the train station, we were immediately bombarded with guys who wanted to transport our luggage across the station for us. For a fee, of course, because that ain't just going to happen for free. So, this is very common in India because train stations are large, and due to this, you often have to walk a very far distance from the entrance to your train's platform, all with your luggage in tow. So, additionally, the high poverty rates in India compared to those in the US have created a culture where you can almost always pay someone to do anything you need to do at a very cheap rate, which is also why middle class families can afford maids and usually have at least one maid, if not more, which we'll get into some of that later on. So, while this is a standard in India, I was definitely not used to it, so it made me a little nervous this first time. I let Moni do all of the talking and the negotiating, of course, and he picked a few guys to carry our bags all the way to our train's platform, which felt like miles away while walking towards it. So Moni was actually a bit irritated with the guys because they charged him a higher fee than what he was used to, which occurred because they saw that I was with him. So, when negotiating fees in India, if they spot a white person in your group, they automatically charge you more as they know that a white person is either from the US, Europe, or Australia, or, somewhere else. But usually those three are what they're going to assume of you. And they assume that you have plenty of extra money to spend. So, this is the literal price that Moni paid bringing his American girlfriend home with him. And, funny story, just a little side note, is the second time I went to India, which was December of this same year of 2022, his mom and I were in oh my God, an auto. I can't believe I just forgot the name of that. An auto, which is like the little tuk-tuks, the small little taxi cabs. And the guy he asked me if I was from Australia. And I was like, nope, I'm from the US. And I just thought that was really funny. I don't know why he assumed Australia. You know what? Actually, now I do know why he assumed Australia. Wow, full circle. Because we got picked up outside of Moni's neighborhood. And Moni's neighbors, like the literal neighbors right next door who were like family to him, who are now like family to me. So Jayesh uncle and Vijay auntie, they have two sons who live in Australia. And I'm pretty sure both of them married Australian girls. I know for a fact at least one did. I could be wrong about the two, but definitely one did. And so she has been to India, I'm pretty sure, which would make sense why they would guess that I was from Australia because they've had Australians in these before. This is all a giant ass assumption. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I like making up this story right now. I like finding a reason why this guy would just randomly assume I'm from Australia. I definitely do not sound like it. So before hopping on the train, Moni went to grab us some food because he informed me that, quote, they won't have a good selection of food offered on the train, end quote. And I quickly learned that you will not receive service on a train like you would on an airplane. So once our train arrived, we boarded and I got my first taste of what second class tickets on a train ride were all about. We made our way to our seats where we found two bunk beds that we had all to ourselves, with two additional bunk beds facing ours that were reserved for other passengers. A small table was in the middle along with electrical outlets, one fan, a mirror, and a small table that could be stowed away when not in use. We placed our luggage on the top bunk for safekeeping and to ensure that it was out of the way, which was important since we had 4 suitcases in total between the two of us. I found this train ride to be fascinating. I saw so much of the Indian countryside that I otherwise wouldn't have seen. And additionally, I got a really good glimpse as to what life is like for those who live in the small villages. And that being because the train ran alongside a good number of villages, which I hadn't anticipated, but was super happy to be witness to. So at times, it felt like I was riding in a time machine, heading into a past decade that occurred long before cell phones existed. These villagers were working in fields with zero modern-day machinery. They were walking barefoot along dirt paths with their cows. They were living in homes that would be considered, quote, shacks in the United States. And this was ordinary life for them, which is vastly different from mine. So the family in the bunk across from us had the most adorable little girl. She was 3 years old, if I remember correctly, and I was able to practice my Hindi with her, as my speaking level would have been considered child level Hindi at the time. So this was so fun and helpful for me. And it really was, you guys, because at that time, I think I'd been studying Hindi with my teacher, Bina, for maybe about 8 months. Because I started training, teaching, learning, whatever, learning with my Hindi teacher in July of 2021. So it's been a little over 2 years now, which is so crazy to think. And this was March of 22. So I'd had not even a whole year of actual training with her before I went over there. And I had child Hindi. I could speak great little bitty sentences with children. I could do that all day long. I could not do the complex stuff yet. So it was really cool to just have a conversation with a child and just get to go back and forth with all the easy stuff. I asked her, where are you going? Where are you from? How old are you? Like all of those little things. And it was cute and it was fun. And the parents seemed to appreciate it. So, well, I guess they appreciated that a white person was speaking Hindi. That's what they appreciated. Not really I don't know. Let's get back to the story now. So another interesting encounter that I experienced on the train was going pee. So this might be a little TMI, but using the restroom on a moving train was an adventure in itself, and specifically on an Indian train. Not any of these European trains, not trains in Australia or anywhere the fuck else, specifically Indian trains. And I say this because the area where the toilets were located rocked side to side pretty hard, as it was also the spot where the two train cars would meet. So luckily for me, these toilets were the, quote, hole in the ground version that I prefer, which I had previously wrote about and spoken about. I mean, hello, we're on the podcast now. In India trip day 3, exploring New Delhi. So the hole in the ground, in case you haven't listened to that or you've forgotten, it's literally like a hole. And on the train, what it is it's kind of like, think of like if you paint a house, you know how you have the paint rollers and they go into that little dish thing that just kind of, it kind of slants down, and then that's where the paint is so you can get the excess off. That's literally what this looks like. It's a hole where there's kind of like it slants down into it. And so you have a lot more area in case you like miss or like don't really get in the spots the right way. Like you got some things to work with. So that made it a little bit better, but squatting while the train rocked side to side was definitely a challenge. But hey, this made the long ride less boring, and it added some spice to this story. Am I right? So when the train began to approach our station in Baroda, Moni told me that we should go wait near the doors to ensure an easy exit, because it's kind of like get off and they start going again. Like it's kind of fast. So also, this gave me the opportunity to hang my head outside the moving train. Oh my God. This was something that I'd previously only seen in movies or on TV, which is most likely banned in other countries, though not in India. And let me just tell you, it was so much fun. Like, I had no idea I was going to get to do that. And there are videos. Of course, Moni took videos of me. Actually, you're going to see the video at the end of this YouTube. Wow, that made no sense. Let me start over. If you're watching on YouTube, you will see at the very end of this episode, when I have all the photos and videos, you will see right in there me on the train getting to hang my head out and have a ball. It was so much fun. So that just felt really cool. It kind of reminded me of the movie Anastasia. If you've seen Anastasia, where she's on the train scene and the train's about to crash and they're like near the doors and stuff, that's kind of what it felt like. It just felt so cool, which is, I don't know, kind of dumb, but whatever. Let your inner child be alive, you guys, every chance you get. So the train eventually stopped, and when we hopped out, we were once again immediately bombarded by dudes asking to carry our luggage. For a price, of course. So Dad quickly spotted us, and thankfully he had already negotiated a deal with a few guys to carry our luggage for us. Unfortunately for them, they completed this negotiation before they saw me, meaning they lost out on the chance for the, quote, American upcharge. That's now what I'm calling it, the American upcharge. So for us, this was definitely a win because I do not like to spend money. I am all for let's get the discount, let's save as much as we can. So hell yeah. So after making it to the entrance to the station, Moni and I stayed back with the luggage while Dad went to bring the car around. We loaded up the car and began to drive towards the next wonderland on the list, Moni's childhood home. But first, we witnessed a local street fight where a woman was beating up what appeared to be her husband while screaming in Gujarati, which Gujarati is the regional language and it's Moni's, quote, mother tongue is what they call it because it's your first language in your specific part of the country. And she was also crying while she was screaming at him. So she was pointing at some other woman who was there, which helped me draw the conclusion that she possibly caught her husband having an affair. And y'all, while this was happening, it was seriously the wildest thing I've ever seen. So there is this woman, she's screaming at this guy, she's beating on him, she ends up ripping his shirt off at one point. She is fucking pissed. And while this is happening, there's literally a humongous crowd of people just standing around watching. It's like the entertainment for today. It was so crazy. Because when things like this happen in the US, if you're passing by, you kind of glance at it and then you just keep going. You don't literally stop to watch and find out what's going on. It was very interesting. And I quickly learned that this type of behavior is typical when dramatic things occur, especially in a public place. Y'all, Indians are curious people. I don't know if you knew this, but they are really curious. And so they're going to stop. That's just in the culture. If there is yelling that's happening outside of an apartment complex, everybody will come to the balconies and look down to see what's going on. That's just what they do in the culture. It's so funny. I think I've talked about the staring before. I think I talked about that in a previous episode where Indians, maybe I haven't, I don't know. Indians will just stare at you. They'll just straight up stare at you because that's not rude in Indian culture. And so that kind of, it makes sense why they do this too, because it's not rude to just stop and stare in their culture. So when you're not used to it, it can feel a bit uncomfortable. Y'all, I have a ball with it now. I will stare some random motherfucker right down. I will stare right back at people. I do not care. It is a game for me now, and I think it's hilarious, and I enjoy it. I'm very curious to see how some of my friends who have never been to India before, who are coming to India for my wedding in less than 2 months. I'm so excited. I'm really curious to see how they do with the staring because I don't think that they're going to have as much fun with it as I do. I really don't. Okay, so we continued driving towards what I would soon begin to call Mera Dusra Ghar, which means my second home in Hindi. And all along the way, Moni and Dad began pointing out all sorts of things to me. Places where they like to eat, the Domino's pizza, friends' houses, other societies, which a society is their term for a neighborhood, etc. All of these things. So it was a lot to take in, but I really enjoyed every second of it. I did. It was fun. It's fun to see where Moni went to school, where he spent his time as a kid, where, his friends' parents live, that stuff. So when we finally arrived at home, we were excitedly greeted by Mom. Moni gave me a tour of the house, which included his childhood bedroom, immediately calling it, quote, our room, as this is where we would sleep for the remainder of the trip. And actually, what's really fun is his childhood bedroom, when I went back to India by myself, that was my room again. And when we go back to India in December, that will be our room again. So it's it just feels special that like every time we go to India, we have a room that is dedicated for us, and like that's where we get to stay, and it feels really special. I'm gonna cry. So let me let me finish this story. So as the day began to come to an end, we settled down and ate a homemade meal prepared by Mom. Then we spent the rest of the evening just resting. We'd had a long day, and really a long week for that matter by this point, and we had many more exciting events to come. So even though it was only my first night in this house, I already felt right at home. Yay! So that's the end of day 7. So for those of you on YouTube, I do have something fun to show you. Look at this. Isn't it so adorable? So this is a little purse. It's a swing pack purse, and there's a zipper on the back. There's a zipper on the inside. But what's special about it is I bought it in Baroda, and it has embroidery all over it. So it's my favorite color. It's pink, and it's got hati, which is the Hindi word for elephant. It's got an elephant embroidered on it with flowers, and I don't know what we call these little things, but they're reflective. Yeah, there you go. You can see that on YouTube pretty well because of my ring light. These little reflective circles. But this kind of thing, this embroidery, is very well known to Gujarat, which is, Moni's home state. And so I also bought, which I think I've shown this before, I bought this elephant in Baroda, which this is a really cute plush elephant that has embroidery all over it. I call it my hati. And this I keep on my international shelf, and it just sits there all the time. But I brought home this specifically because, one, the embroidery is native to Gujarat, which is, of course, super important and special when I'm, married to and living with, or getting married to and living with a Gujarati man. But also because it is made out of fabric, and so there was a very slim chance of this breaking in my suitcase. That's why I was so amazed when Vichy Auntie came to town and she gave me these peacocks. Let me grab one. Yeah, and she brought these wooden peacocks for me. I'm so amazed. Like, this one's little beak broke, which I'm not surprised, but the rest of it is fully intact. The other one is fully intact. I am shocked. These are wooden peacocks. They were probably hand carved and hand painted, and they are gorgeous. But that's why I didn't want to bring home a wooden or a ceramic elephant, because I was afraid I would break it. So that was the safe route, and it worked out great. So yeah, there you have it, guys. This was my first day getting into Gujarat. What's really cool is that the rest of the week that we spent there was preparing for his cousin's wedding and attending the wedding. And it was just such a beautiful experience, and so great for me, as I think everybody knew. We all knew. I mean, God, we all knew that Moni and I would eventually get married. And so I think that that's the reason why I'm not going to give away too many details, but with the Indian wedding that we attended, Moni was the only male cousin to his cousin. So Hetwi is an only child, and her only male cousin is Moni, and you have to have your brothers as part of some of the ceremonies. So Moni stepped in and was her brother for everything, and I mean, that's how they know each other, is like that. They don't have cousins in India. Everybody's just brothers and sisters, even the cousins. So he stepped in for a lot of those things, and they pulled me in for a lot of the ceremonies and stuff too, and to be a part of those. And I think they did that as like here's an idea of what you'll be doing soon, which was super cool, and I just feel a lot more prepared for our upcoming wedding because of that. So yeah, my first experience was just above and beyond, better than I could have ever imagined. And fun fact, I don't know if I said this recently either, but not only are we, having our wedding in India in December, we are then attending 2 other weddings in India afterwards. There was a 4th one that we were supposed to try to make, but unfortunately it will be in Thailand during that. So I will be attending 3 weddings in India, including my own, within a month's time. Yeah, they're so fun, but they're also exhausting, y'all. So we'll see how I do. I don't know if I'm going to survive. We'll find out. All right, y'all. Well, until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Travel Tales. Head on over to whatishaybellsdoing.com/travel to find the resources mentioned in today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating on your favorite listening platform or write a review on Apple Podcasts. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on new episode releases. See you next time for another great adventure. Bye!